video will demonstrate the proper techniques for grouting of API and other types of pump bases. Several types of Chockfast grouting materials may be used for grouting pump bases. However, this video will show the use of Chockfast Red. Improperly grouted pumps will often have more vibration and alignment problems that can result in frequent bearing, mechanical seal, and coupling failures. Bearings, mechanical seals, and coupling designs are often blamed for these problems, but in many cases improper baseplate grouting is the cause. For years, cement grout was used to install pump baseplates, but due to shrinkage and the poor adhesive qualities of cementitious grouts, pressure injection of the baseplate with epoxy resin is required to fill voids. In the case of improperly grouted baseplates or baseplates that have disbonded from the grout, pressure injection is a reasonably adequate repair method. Voids can be located by tapping the top of the baseplate with a hammer. After locating the voids, drill and tap 2 holes through the top of the baseplate at opposite ends of the void area. One hole will serve as the injection point and the other as a vent hole. Using a handheld grease gun, fill the voids with the blended Filly-Fast pressure injection material or Chockfast Red resin and hardener. After the void is filled, plug the vent hole and allow the pressure injection material to properly cure. After complete cure, the pressure injection fittings can be removed and the holes dressed. In this program, we'll demonstrate how to use Chockfast Red epoxy grout for a typical API pump installation. In doing so, we'll demonstrate foundation preparation, baseplate cleaning and leveling, grout preconditioning, and proper mixing and pouring procedures. Chockfast Red will bond to the baseplate and the concrete foundation, forming a monolithic block, which helps lower the natural frequency of the baseplate, thereby reducing vibration. The Chockfast Red also protects the foundation from degradation due to chemicals, oil, water, etc. The foundation must be adequately designed to support the pump and driver. It must rest on solid earth and remain isolated from any other transient vibration sources. The total unit is made up of the pump, baseplate, grout section, anchor bolts, and the principal foundation. The top surface of the concrete foundation must be chipped down in order to remove any laitance and to expose a minimum of 50% of the coarse aggregate in the concrete. This is accomplished by using a small chipping gun. Horizontal foundation edges should be chamfered to at least 2 to 4 inches at a 45-degree angle. The foundation must be clean, dry, and free of any contaminants such as water, oil, grease, concrete dust, etc. that could affect the bond of the Chockfast Red to the foundation. To protect the foundation and provide environmental control, erect a temporary structure around the foundation to eliminate the possibility of rainwater or other contaminants contacting the properly prepared concrete surface. This temporary enclosure is very important in the case of extreme cold or hot ambient temperatures. If the ambient temperature is below 65 degrees Fahrenheit, then it is necessary to heat the surrounding area, and likewise during the hot summer months to prevent the sun from providing excess heat to the foundation and pump baseplate during the grout pour and while the grout is curing. Now we turn our attention to the baseplate, which has been stored outside for some time. As can be seen, it needs attention. The procedures that follow also apply for regrouting of existing pump baseplates. The underside of the baseplate should be inspected and any additional grout pour holes, vent holes, or jack screw holes installed. It is imperative that each compartment of the pump baseplate have at least one grout fill hole and an adequate number of vent holes. Vertical and horizontal edges of the baseplate that will come in contact with the Chockfast Red should be ground to a minimum of a ½ inch radius to reduce the possibility of stress concentrations in the grout. The underside of the base plate should be sandblasted to white metal in order to ensure a proper bond to the epoxy grout. Care should be taken to prevent the sandblasted surface from becoming contaminated by oil, water, etc. The elapsed time between sandblasting the pump base and the actual grouting should not be so long as to allow the sandblasted surface to bloom with surface rust. To prevent this, prime the base plate underside with Filiclad 1000 series primer. Filiclad 1000 will create a bond to steel of no less than 1500 psi and have a dry film thickness of 2 to 3 mils. Proper blending is accomplished by pouring the hardener into the resin container and mixing for 3 to 4 minutes with a properly sized Jiffy mixer and a drill speed of 200 to 250 RPM. Pour the blended Filiclad 1000 into the spray rig and coat the entire underside of the pump base. If the base plate is not grouted within 30 days, the coated surface should be roughened up to remove the bloom or shine. The surface should be clean and dry prior to grouting. If necessary, place the base plate on the foundation to verify fit and to mark the concrete at the point of the jack screw contact. For installation of the jack pads, some type of marker should be used to locate the precise location of the jack pad in relationship to the jack screws. The jack pad should be made of 2-inch to 3-inch diameter steel bar stock cut to a thickness of a ½ inch. Round the edges, sandblast, and prime with Filiclad 1000 if required. Filibond Blue 6A and Filibond No. 6 are high compressive strength epoxy putties, either of which may be used to securely fasten the jack pads to the concrete foundation. Apply a generous amount of Filibond onto the jack pads. Remove the markers that were placed on the foundation, position the jack pads, and level in 2 directions. Allow sufficient time for the Filibond to cure. We can now place the base plate on the foundation for leveling. By using a machinist level and the jack bolts, level the base plate according to the pump manufacturer's specifications. After the base plate is leveled, jack bolts must be greased in order to allow easy removal after the epoxy grout cures. Wrap all anchor bolts with foam rubber or several layers of duct tape, which will prevent the bolts from coming in contact with the grout and also allow for proper bolt stretch and tensioning to achieve maximum clamping force. Grout forms are usually constructed with 3/4-inch plywood and 2x4 lumber using 1/2-inch chamfer strips where required. Application of several coats of a hardwood floor paste wax to the face of the forms that will come in contact with the grout will prevent the epoxy grout from bonding to the form material. Before installing the forms, make sure there are no loose particles on the foundation. Place the forms around the foundation and the base plate and brace both vertically and horizontally. The forms should be liquid tight and sealed with a caulking compound. Prior to mixing and pouring of the Chockfast Red, a final check of the following should be made. 1. Are the base plate and concrete foundation clean? 2. Are the chamfer strips in place and the forms waxed? 3. Are the foundation bolts properly wrapped and sealed? 4. Is the mixing equipment clean? 5. Is the foundation temperature above 65 degrees Fahrenheit? 6. Has the Chockfast Red, including resin, hardener, and aggregate, been preconditioned to 70 degrees Fahrenheit to 90 degrees? Shown here is the mixing equipment and the Chockfast Red grouting material conveniently laid out and ready to be mixed. Notice the protective sheets of plastic placed around the working area. Appropriate safety equipment as required by the plant safety engineer should be worn when mixing any epoxy grouting materials. It is not necessary to use a solvent to remove any uncured Chockfast Red from mixing equipment, tools, etc., since cleanup can be accomplished using soap and water. The convenient packaging of Chockfast Red is such that the hardener is contained in a plastic tray which is inside the resin container. The unique formulation of the Chockfast Red aggregate is a low-dust material which saves time during cleanup and does not expose workers to excessive amounts of airborne dust particles typical with most epoxy grouts. Removing the lid from the container of Chockfast Red will expose the tray of hardener. Remove the tray of hardener and pour the entire contents into the resin container. With a Jiffy mixer blade and slow-speed drill, mix the liquids at a speed of 200 to 250 RPM for 3 minutes. Use caution so excessive amounts of air are not mixed into the liquids. Chockfast Red is mixed in a portable mortar mixer with a mixing speed of 15 to 20 RPM. After the liquids have been properly blended, pour the entire contents into the mortar mixer and immediately add the 4 bags of Chockfast Red low-dust aggregate one at a time. Mix the Chockfast Red only until the aggregate is completely wet out, which will take approximately 1 minute of mixing time. Do not overmix. When the Chockfast Red is thoroughly mixed, it is transported by way of a wheelbarrow or buckets to the pump base plate and poured. By using a funnel or grout head box, pour the Chockfast Red into the grout fill holes located in each compartment of the base plate. Continue to pour until the compartment is full. As the Chockfast Red is poured into the base plate and up into each compartment, the air in that compartment will be forced out through the vent holes. Pouring is complete when Chockfast Red is coming out of each vent hole and the compartment fill hole. After sufficient curing time, the forms may be removed and the concrete portion of the foundation may be painted with Philly-Clad 1000 series epoxy coating if so desired. Clean all tools, wheelbarrow, Jiffy mixer blades, and mortar mixer with soap and water. Check with the local safety or environmental engineer at your plant for proper disposal and handling of cleaning water. This program has demonstrated only one method of pouring Chockfast Red in a pump grouting installation. Should you be interested in other methods, consult your local Chockfast distributor or ITW Philadelphia Resins for